the cool thing too. It's like, you know, they're like, we're opening up Dubai, we're opening up New York.
Yeah.
We can send you to New York if you want, Angel. We'll send you to Dubai. The thing that ended up making me leave was like there was like so many things that happened. Like there was, I think New Year's one year there was a fire in Dubai. One of our restaurants burned down. So they had to, and I was supposed to go to New York, and they had to move all the chefs from Dubai to New York.
So there's no space.
And
for
I was
you
like, and then I had a lot of other small things going on in the restaurant with me. So I was like, this is a sign for me this is my time to leave.
Got
the
you.
company.
Okay. Was it easy to leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Because towards the end it was a bit harder. Things, you know, I was finding myself, it was not as joyful when I first started. It was a little bit harder. So I knew I had took a trip to Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris, and Spain. And when I got back, I knew it was my time to leave.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Danny had approached me one night. I was at the Source, and he was like, hey, we're going to open up a place called Anju in D.C. Me and Scott think you'll be great for the chef. And I was like, cool. I was like, I want to cook Korean food. Let's talk. And he was like, okay, we'll talk. And then a couple months passed. I was like, okay, I'm done with Source. I can't work here anymore. So I talked to them, like, well, we're not quite ready for you to join Anju because it's still, the restaurant was still being built. So they come on as Chico and help us out with Chico. So I came on, and I was basically like the catering chef at Chico for a little bit. I did all the catering events, helped them open up DuPont, our other restaurant here.
Okay.
And then I went to Korea, did a little research, and came back, and we went full force into Anju.
Heard that.
Yeah.
What was your research in Korea?
So I won a cooking competition with the Embassy of Korea. So they sent me over because I won the competition, and so I was sponsored by them. So I did like an official tour across Korea.
Dope. What was this food competition?
You just had to cook one dish, and it was the easiest dish in the world, bibimbap, the most recognized.
Exactly.
The most recognized Korean dish. So
and you're like, psst, bro.
Yeah. So I actually, but I did it. I tried to do it the right way, and that's the way I try to do most stuff here at Anju. So I went to Danny's mom, Mrs. Lee, and I said, hey, I want to see how you do your bibimbap. I want to see, like, you know, your methods and how you make it, and then I'll kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky. I came into the restaurant, and she gave me some time, and she said, okay, this is how I make my sauce for this. This is how I prepare my vegetables. This is how I do this. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had kind of an idea of what I wanted to do. I've made the dish before, but I think it's always good to get a second reference.
Yeah.
So that was good. So I went and made it, and I won. And it was cool because I got to go. I stayed in Seoul, I stayed in Seoul for a little bit, and then I went to Jeju, and I went around Korea. And I also had friends in Korea at the time too, so they would take me to restaurants they like. Yeah. So that was super awesome.
Fuck yeah. So that's the trajectory, basically. Culinary school, and then the job that you had for.
Yeah, so I did culinary school. Then I went to Vermilion, and then I stayed at the Source for majority of my career, and then I'm here. So I basically did 3 restaurants.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, same. And talking to different chefs, it's there is basically 2 ways to get there. If you put enough time in, 10 years, 15, whatever it is, I think you can get to where you want to go.
And that was my goal. My goal, I always told myself, was like, I wanted to be a chef at a restaurant before I turned 30. And I made it. So, I turned 30 here, and then I've been here 2 years. And
that's funny because it was the same thing for me at church. I was like, okay, you got to go work at 3-star, you're going to be sous chef at 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that happened now. Okay, now you got to be fucking executive chef by the age of 30. And I made it. I was like, I'm like looking up. I'm like, bro, there's got to be someone up there pulling the strings. Yeah. Because you feel the energy of it.
Yeah. It's supreme love, cause and effect.
Exactly.
You put good out, you get good back.
Fuck yeah. During this time, are you married?
No, I'm not married.
Okay, got you. Single.
All
right. Yeah. So hear that, ladies? He's single. I'm like trying to get you out there. You know what I mean? Is there any plans to open another place after this?
Of course, yeah. So within our company, we have 2 subset groups. So we have the Chicos, which they're going to continue to open. Chico is Chinese and Korean. We're going to open up next week, one in Shirlington. And we have other concepts. We want to open up another Anju eventually, but we're kind of taking our time. This is still our baby,
in a completely other city?
Yeah.
Where would you go?
We're not really sure, I want to do Boston maybe.
Nashville is dope.
Yeah.
Bro, Nashville, I almost was like, man, I would move here.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was one of the Denver I'd move to, but when I got to Nashville, I was like, this is the spot.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's just so many passionate people out there, and every restaurant, every meal I went to was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the people were even better, and obviously there's, the downtown area where it's just like, I stay away from there. I tried to go.
It's like Portland.
Yeah, I tried to go, and it's like you get the people bumping into you and like wanting to fight you, and you're like, bro.
In Nashville, so kind of
yeah. You know what? It's not the people from there; it's the people that are visiting.
Oh, okay.
But I've been in that situation before, in New Orleans, for example, or wherever there's a large amount of group of people that come from different places. There's always a couple of idiots who just want to fight. You know what I mean? They want to be something that they're not in another place.
Yeah,
you know,
they're just trying to flex on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, and knowing myself, let me just remove myself from this situation because I don't need to go to jail before this podcast tour is over. But yeah, man, Nashville's dope. I had some dope banh mi's. Fucking Catbird Seat was dope.
Yeah, I've always heard Catbird Seat. That's always
it was fucking. You walk in, there's just loud ass metal playing,
really,
and it's this perfect tasting menu where like I've had meals at Meadowood and they've been amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I was full. After I was like, man, like fuck, I gotta go to bed. But this meal, I walked out of there like a feather, satisfied.
Really.
And just like, man, like I could go run a mile right now. I think
that's always the goal when you do tasting menus. It's that delicate balance of like, I don't have to eat McDonald's after this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, I've always wanted to do a tasting menu where maybe it's 8 really tiny courses, and then the last thing is just like a fucking spread of, whatever it is. I went and had this meal at Tallulah's, this place I worked at in Rhode Island, and they basically gave me, the 10-course tasting menu, and then at the end, they gave me chicken fried quail legs in fucking biscuit puree. They basically just makes biscuits thrown in a blender with a little bit of cream and fucking go. And I'm like, bro. And it was
fucking
just
crazy.
Yeah, and it was just like arranged like around, and I'm just like dipping these fucking quail legs in this,
that sounds super decadent.
Puree, and I was just like, oh my god. And this chef had done that before, Jake Rojas. He would always like do this styled out 12-course tasting menu, and then at the end, fucking tacos. Like, here you go. Now he's got a taco empire in Rhode Island now. Yeah. But I'm like, there's no reason why we can't do that. There's no reason why we can't blast fucking music that isn't elegant and serve elegant food at the same time. I think you
find that in D.C. Some of our, even the Michelin star restaurants, have you got like Bresco or John, like they pay old school hip hop, they pay big, they don't care. I mean, it's cool. I think food shouldn't be so rigid sometimes, and that's the old system when you're like, oh, I want to be a Michelin star restaurant. There's such parameters that I need to hit. And for me, I was like, oh, that's such ridiculous bullshit. Yeah. Because, like, food should be inclusive to everyone, number one.
Yes, 100%.
And not only delicious, it should be an ambiance and a vibe that's not so stuffy.
Yeah.
That old school type of food, I think, is waning its way out. There's a place for everything, but I think in most major cities where you see it's, like, more ethnically diverse, it makes more sense to appeal to the demographic of the people that are living there. Yeah. Instead of, like, the 1% that can pay a tasting menu that costs $600 or $800.
Yeah.
That's absurd to me.
Dude, that's just ridiculous. You look at some of these menu prices, like Vegas, the Robuchon, and the other spot. It's just like $1,000.
Yeah.
Or like $1,500 for the white truffle menu. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so you mean you're going to put the same ingredient in every dish for 12 courses and I'm going to pay extra for it? Like,
I think there was a story about, what's the guy, Salt Bay, recently in London. He was trying to pay his chef like $18 an hour, but he had like a steak on the menu that cost $1,000 or something crazy.
So Salt Bay is a dick. Is that what we're getting at?
Yeah, he had to pull out his restaurant in London. They just closed. They were open for like maybe 5 weeks. And they had to close because of like controversy and all this stuff. Yeah, but this is not the first time. Like even his restaurant in Miami, they had like there was issues with paying people tips and all this crazy stuff.
I'm not really sure on that guy's career or anything. I haven't really done much research on him, so I don't know how long and hard he worked to get to where he's at. Yeah, but then to get that overnight sensation fame, like
sensationalism.
Yeah, it almost seemed like it ruined him. Yeah, because now he wears sunglasses at night. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like
was it like Orange Juice Jones?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the only people that should be doing that are Jay-Z, Rick Ross, and fucking Kanye West. Like, other than that, like, if you're not the top 3 in anything, you can't wear sunglasses at night, bro.
That's the problem.
It's like a certification.
I think Instagram fame and like temporary fame from a lot of people goes to people's heads.
Exactly.
Because you get like, I think it's like that Jake Paul syndrome.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so good. And it's like, nah, man. You're doing good, but it's like you're not the top 5. You're not top 10.
It's like in his situation, it's almost like he wants to be hated. Like, he wants people to pray for his downfall, and that's his fuel.
Because that's money.
Yeah.
You know, he knows how to work the system. You know, you're going to get more views and stuff if you're negative about stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's like sensationalism. That's why like a lot of journalists, if it's like, we'll get more people to read if we're negative about stuff instead of being positive, you know?
Yeah. You know, when I asked you to do the podcast, I felt as though, like, man, like, I don't want people to think that I'm only talking to you because you won this food and wine thing. Mm-hmm. Like, the main reason is because you're a Puerto Rican chef, and we don't get much recognition, and there's not, you know what I mean? We're not like, there's not a lot of us like, it's like doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's first and foremost. And sometimes I feel like when I do get all these podcasts with these guys that have all these accolades, I'm like, man, I really don't want people to think that, you know, it's gonna affect the way I look for people. Mm-hmm. Like, I only look for people because that's the only way I found you. Yeah. You know, because I'm not looking in the DC scene. You know, I'm living in fucking California. Like, you know, it just raises awareness, and that's why I'm glad we do have accolades, and I'm glad that fucking, I'm so proud of you. Like, fucking, I cannot, like, you're putting us on the map. Bro. Yeah. You know, and you're doing it in not a traditional way. It's like a Puerto Rican chef who works at a Korean restaurant.
I'm probably the only I'm the only chef in the United States that cooks the food that looks like me.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
Because I think that's cool, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I was the first chef to have a restaurant in DC that Washingtonian who's not white. You know, which is not a really huge thing, but I think it's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
And this time and day, it's like, you know...
In DC?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I think, for me, I think it's always cool when you see people like Kwame or anyone, like Paola, some of my friends, when they're just out there killing it because it shows kids and other people you're not necessarily tied down to your diaspora or wherever you came from, your family, your history. You can do anything. You can do anything you can achieve. I know it's a story that we perpetrate a lot for people, but it's hard to see when there's not people around you that look like you.
Yeah,
you know, when I first came into DC, there was like very few minority chefs. There was like maybe 3 or 4. You know, now it's awesome. It's super diverse. There's a lot of young chefs in DC. You have Bobby, you have Paulo Dunca at Pogi Boy, you have Tom Cunanan, who won a James Beard Award. But 10 years ago, those chefs didn't really exist.
Exactly.
It was a very as diverse and as DC's always called Chocolate City. There was not a lot of representation in the city.
Yeah.
It was very plain. It's cool to see how diverse and the city's kind of evolved and changed. Yeah. There was no Puerto Rican food in the city before. There's Puerto Rican food in the city. There was no Laos food. There's Laos food now in the city.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a lot of Ethiopian food, a lot of El Salvadorian mixed food.
Mm-hmm.
But now our city's it's cool. It's so diverse. It's so different.
Yeah.
It really represents who we are as a city. We're a hodgepodge and an amalgamation of people that came here for a dream and they're pursuing the dream.
Fuck yes. And I will say that you do have a lot of restaurants like Paola's kind of concept is it's a civil rights bakery. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
The fact that she can change perspective and this world through bread. Yeah. You know what I mean? Fucking.
And on top of that, she's not it's not a rigid system. She's I'm not telling you to donate to this charity. I want you to donate to a charity that impacts your community and makes sense to your community.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times people just, I'm going to donate money to here, I'm going to donate it to here, but it doesn't really come back into your community.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing I think about Bakers Against Racism is it appeals to whatever your city and whatever your community needs.
Yeah.
And that thing it makes sense. And when you talk about community activism and things like that, that's how it should be. It should be things that directly impact your city. Yeah. Impact your community. Not just acts of virtue. Hey, I'm donating money to the NAACP because I want to feel good. I want people to think I'm a good person. Yeah. That to me is that's you're just trying to be a showman.
Exactly.
You're not actually doing anything. When people posted black squares, during the George Floyd protest, after that, what are you doing?
Yeah,
nothing.
Exactly.
You're sitting in silence.
And that's why, because I posted the black square and I was like, okay, what am I going to do about this now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I found a lot of Instagram charities that you could donate through PayPal directly to them. Mm-hmm. So that's just what I did.
Yeah. So we did, the past year, we did a lot of stuff, but we don't post about it because we're we don't need to post about it because we're not trying to show off. We're not trying to show anything.
Mm-hmm.
We donated thousands of meals to police officers and cops in our city, to people who had lost their jobs, who were furloughed, Yeah. We gave our time. Me and my sous chef came in and we cooked all these meals and gave them out. We donated money to local charities. We did a charity dinner here a couple months ago It was the brainchild of my owner, Danny Lee. It's called Embrace Race, and the idea of Embrace Race was, if we're going to stop racism in this country, it starts with teaching children about race relations.